find a direction. Dramatic pause.
Guys, this event is being live streamed on Facebook.
Production techniques going on behind.
We're waiting just for the cue that they're online and ready, then we'll start. So this is going to be live on Facebook.
So no rude signs. And don't pick your nose. Thank heavens we've all got things to keep ourselves occupied. Everyone's on their phones. Yeah, so we've got there's the camera. Just watch the cameras. We just need to get a little bit, keep an eye a little bit on Mohammed, who can just give us a little bit of direction. 1 more minute. It's taking time. Technical difficulties. All we need is load shedding now, and then we're in. Oh, no, don't do anything, because we're getting countdowns. Okay. So I just want to welcome everybody to the finale of the Money Makeover 2018. I'm going to give apologies for the City Press editor, Mondli Makanya, who unfortunately had a death in the family this week and he had to attend a funeral. But he has very kindly given us a little bit of an interview, which we're going to play now for you all to hear.
Greetings all. I'm going to be very short with this recording because the load shedding schedule says Eskom is going to hit us any moment now. I'd really like to say I'm really sorry I could not be with you today on this great day, on this celebratory day, on this joyous occasion. First off, I'd like to thank our partners Absa. It's been a really great journey that we have traveled together since this partnership began, and we hope that we will travel it for a long distance to go still. And I'd like to thank the advisors for giving of their time, for giving of their energy, for giving of their brain power in aiding our candidates and guiding them towards financial health and knowing how to help themselves, and also basically for them helping the broader South African society, the broader City Press readership, and everybody who will benefit from this particular process. But most importantly, I'd like to thank our candidates, the finalists who are here today. You have been very bold, you have been very brave and courageous, and in opening up to South Africa and letting the City Press leadership and the broader South African society into your lives, into very intimate spaces. And I would really say thank you for your candidness, and thank you for having the wisdom to do this and actually going through this journey. And you may think today that you were just helping yourselves, but in fact you helped many others who travel this journey with you through the pages of City Press on all our platforms. So, and I would really like to say congratulations to all of you. The cliche says that everybody is a winner, but one person must be the winner. But I think in reality today, you are all winners, because your lives will not be going backwards. The lessons learned on this journey will be with you for the rest of your lives. And thank you again for being there, for inspiring South Africans. And I hope that I one day will have the courage and wisdom that you have had. Thank you, and have a great day.
So that was the word from our media partner, City Press. Well, I am City Press as well. I think I forgot to mention that I'm Maya Fisher-French up front. And I've been involved in obviously putting Money Makeover together and keeping the media part of it going, and all of you, your names and faces in the newspaper. But I would like to call up our incredible sponsor, which is Absa, which has been an amazing sponsor in this journey. And it's going to be Songizo Zibi, who is the head of communications at the Absa Group, to say a few words. Because without you guys, this would not be happening. So over to you. Put on, yeah. Yeah. So I should give it to you.
Is it working? Okay. Is it working? Okay, it's on now.
Oh, no,
yeah,
no.
thank you. Still morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I Moldy has said everything that I wanted to say, so I'm just going to sit down. But I want to say a couple of things. The first is to thank all our finalists, because the director says I should move and stand here. I want to thank all our finalists, because I think what I know is that we sometimes, in fact a lot of the time, we hide our financial affairs even from our families. And it takes a very bold and brave person to say, I'm not only going to do this for myself, but I'm going to put my face, my name, and my issues out there for other people to learn from as a community service. And I think that part of what you've done, the service to the community, not just the readers of City Press, but to the country and everyone who learn about this on Twitter and Facebook, is something that's really, really important, and a step for which at Absa we are really grateful to you for. And I want to acknowledge all of you for doing that. The second thing is I want to thank City Press, because I've kind of been a journalist at some point in my life, and I think one of the things that one notices in public discourse is a very difficult relationship between the public and journalism and news organizations. And sometimes the community development and personal development aspect of what news organizations do and can do is often forgotten. And I think between the contestants and also the newspaper itself, or City Press itself as a news platform, is very important, because between those two, that combination has produced, I think, something that is really good. Firstly, there are people with experiences that they have that have got learnings to pick up, and secondly, there is a news organization that has got a very important platform in society, and the combination of those two has produced something that I'm really grateful for. And I think for a financial services organization like Absa, we actually benefit more than anything from both you and that platform. There isn't a lot that we've done. I think the third is the financial advisors. What the work they do with all of you is really important. I'll tell you, you would think that because I work at a bank, I know a lot about how to handle money properly, how to save, the relationship that I should have between myself and my spending habits. That relationship isn't so good, and there are lots of people that one would assume know how to handle their money, but the reality is most of us, I think, are not in the space that we pretend that we're in. And once again, I'd like you to acknowledge the bold step that you've taken in doing this for yourselves. So really, we are really delighted and proud to be associated with all of you, with City Press, and our financial advisors similarly. I think this is the kind of work that for them as well, with every client they deal with, I think they'll agree, they learn a bit more, and it gets a bit better for the next one. So from your experiences, the knowledge they've picked up, they apply to the next one a lot quicker and a lot better. So I think all of us have picked something from this. We're not just a sponsor. there's been quite a lot of learning and benefit from ourselves too. So I'd like to thank all of you. And as the editor has said, may the best person win. But all of you are winners. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for those words. And I think we're going to reiterate that over and over again about how amazing our candidates are and how amazing our financial advisors are. But we have a bit of a special treat. Well, for me, I feel like it's a treat because we've got last year's winner, Howard, who's going to come and say a few words. So maybe, Howard, you want to come up. And what I wanted Howard to talk about a little bit today is the journey he went through and what has Money Makeover meant to him in this last year after the competition. We're going to run a quick video just to remind everybody who Howard is. Howard, can you sit over there? My mic interferes.
Maya French calls me a proper baron, but I should think I'm just starting up, honestly. When we started with 2 rooms on our initial property. You see, what happens when I buy a house, I don't look at the existing structure. I look at the space at the back because that's where the profit lies. The existing house, my plan is that it pays off. I get tenants in there and they pay off the bond.
I was quite amazed in terms of how he laid out his property, how he built it, what he had in the room, and the thought process that went into just the shower itself in terms of how do you multi-use and maximum use of your space. Now, you can go and talk to a lot of architects and you can talk to a lot of engineers that have a lot of qualifications and you can do a lot of research. And I don't think he did that. But what I saw amazed me that he actually came very close to how someone else would obviously with all the experience do it.
The challenge is to pay off personal loans. Personal loans come with a huge interest and all those kind of things. Maybe it was a mistake to go and make those personal loans. Maybe if we saved a little bit and used our own money, it could have worked out better.
He entered into loans with higher interest rates. He's paying too much.
Because we borrowed money to invest into the business, we still battling to pay off those personal loans.
That's from the business point of view. So we're going to obviously go through every single loan he has gotten, how he's obviously paying, his income statement, his balance sheet, really understand all the commitments he's done, his terms and conditions that he signed, really understanding all those things. And then obviously put up a proper income statement, balance sheet together and says, right, so what are you spending your money on?
The way to go forward is to expand these rooms to rent a business and make it grow moving way forward. Maybe one day I could, resign from my job and come and focus permanently on the business.
So, Howard was really inspiring and he was an amazing winner last year. But I wanted to share a little bit of insight into something that Howard, I've got an SMS, WhatsApp Howard sent me a couple of months ago. Because I don't know if, we did actually start this competition with 6 people. And one of them, Bafu, unfortunately, found it too difficult. This is not easy. And if you're sitting here at this table today, it means you've done some huge amount of work. And Howard will understand that. And I wanted to, Howard, how close you came. You went from nearly coming out of this competition, nearly exiting it. And I want to remind you of this WhatsApp. I've got the WhatsApp here to read, which actually shows this is not easy and it takes perseverance. And you said, Maya, it gets tough sometimes. When I lost my previous job, was in the middle of Money Makeover. He lost his job. When I lost my previous job, I seriously considered pulling out of the competition, but due to the good support from everybody, I survived. I'd just taken a massive drop in salary and I had no car. This caused panic and irrational decision-making. I thought of finding a corner away from public eyes and to drown in my sorrows. He said if it was not for the competition, my life was destroyed. This is what saved me and kept me going, and my mentor, Elton, also played a major role in that. And I think that is incredibly powerful, that it isn't easy. It's not easy to take this journey. So maybe just give us a feel for the challenge and also where you March 2018, you were the winner. What has the journey been like since then?
I'm not so sure. Is this on?
It's on.
Oh, okay. Is it still morning or afternoon? I'm not so sure.
Say
afternoon.
half.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm sure everybody knows me by now. Hani Hindoga. My journey is very long, so I'm just going to be quick. A few years back, it started with me buying the copy of the City Press, going to the back of the Business Times. Is it the Business Times?
No, definitely not. A City Press's money section.
Going to the, it's called the Business.
My money, my lifestyle
Yes.
section of City Press.
Yes. So that's when I came across Maya's articles, started reading them. They actually spoke to me. And they inspired me at one stage in 1 year to go and save 100,000 rands. And once I've done that, I felt it was so important to contact her and tell you that, you know what, you're doing a great job and you have an impact. You may not have met me before, but your articles had an impact on me to the extent that they helped me to save 100,000 rands in 12 months. It wasn't easy, it was tough, but we did. So that's the way how I came to know Maya, and when the competitions came, I applied. Just to share you a little bit of a story, it was a struggle as well to qualify. I should think I was left out for several times, and at one stage I was told, no, you didn't make the cut. I said, no, it's fine, but I was told, no, Elton will continue helping me, even if I wasn't part of the competition. Then I had there's a space that has opened up, somebody pulled out, and there I was in.
Oh, it's amazing. You can go from that to winning the competition.
Yes, I was just thinking. I was still
you
with Capitec.
didn't bank
yes.
with Absa. That was part of the
Yes,
challenge. You had, yeah.
yes, I was still with Capitec, and then in order to qualify, for the competition, you needed to be banking with Absa. So I went to Capitec, I closed all my accounts, and I moved everything to Absa. And just to say one thing, sometimes when I go to the branch and I get a bad service, I stand there and I fight. I tell them, this is my bank, I'm not going anywhere, I will get good service. At one stage, I had an illegal debit order that went through, and I was told by my branches, no, we will not refund you, we don't do those kind of things. And I fought and I fought. I went to the height structures, and just on Friday, I got an email from Alberton, the manager. They're saying, we will refund you your money. I said, that's what I want. I will stand in Absa. I will demand good service because this is my bank. I'm not going anywhere.
Hey, well
yes.
done.
But just to cut things short, after we won the competition, I thought to myself, of course, I went behind Elton's back. He didn't like it. He kicked me as well. We decided with the investment that we got, there was space there for 3 rooms. And I said, do I have this investment lying in a bank account, or should I invest it and make more money? If I have it lying in a bank account, I'll get about 800 rands, maybe 900 rands. Then I thought, why don't I invest, build the 3 rooms, it's not gonna be easy, then maybe that 100,000 rands can give me 4,500 rands. And that's what we did. And the 3 rooms are standing up, and they're occupied, they have tenants. And the reason why Lizel and Maya told me that the reason why they thought I played a major role in the competition is that it wasn't all about me. I'm providing a service to the community. Those rooms are now occupied by families. There are people that are really struggling, that can't afford expensive accommodation in Johannesburg. While it's the plan is just to get one tenant in there. But sometimes when people come and say, I have my wife and our small 2 kids, and we can't afford anything else, only your rooms that we can afford, then I think at least I have people that have a roof over their heads with a room, with a toilet and a bathroom inside. And that is much more fulfilling to me. Okay. One last thing is that, as I said in that WhatsApp message, if I wasn't in the competition back then, when disaster struck at my work, we lost the contract. I'm just a security guard, by the way. So we lost the contract, and the new company came over, and they said, no, you have been getting paid too much money by the previous company. We're not going to pay you that amount. We're just going to cut your salary by 35%. You don't like it, pack your bags and go. Then I thought, how am I going to survive with 35% of my salary gone. The best thing now is that I have to pull out from the competition because I now need to go and make my own decision somewhere else without being scrutinized. But strange enough, when I phoned Elton, he said, "You're not going anywhere. We will help you. We will sit down. We will look at your budget. We will find the money." And strange enough, we just looked at what was left of my salary, and we worked out. And strange enough, there was still money left after that. So City Press and Absa really saved my life at that stage, because now we're still going on, we're strong, the business is making money. And the other thing that we have thought, that I discussed with Maya said, no, maybe that retirement unit, we need to let it go. But it's still there, we never closed it down, because we managed to go and find some money somewhere. Okay. And final, to the competitors, I don't think there are any losers, I don't think there are any winners. You're all doing a great job. Thank you.
Thanks. So it's funny because Howard is also Honey, and I know him as Honey. and he said no, for the competition, he thinks maybe Howard, because his employer said, "Listen, I can't keep calling you Honey. It's just like making my wife uncomfortable when I phone. I say, 'Hey, Honey.'" So that's why you're going to have two names there. But you know, this competition for me is just the highlight of my year, and this is now the third year we've done it. And you know, when I hear Howard's story, it melts my heart. But Howard's not the only one. If I brought up all of the candidates from last year and all of you here today, it is all these incredible turnaround stories. And just knowing that if you keep the path, if you've got somebody who's got your back, it's not about winning the lotto. It's not about the big payout that's going to save you. It's actually about what you can do with what you have. And I think that is probably what really makes me so passionate about this competition. And it is not easy to do. We've seen that. I've spoken about one of our candidates who fell out because it's not easy. He couldn't cope with the scrutiny of his family, going to his family to have those tough discussions about what he could and couldn't provide for them. He didn't have the strength to go and tell his parents sorry, you know, and those kind of decisions that you have to make. I'm sure some kid will be nodding her head. Those are very tough decisions. But one of the things that I feel that this competition does is it gives banks a different view about what they can do for their customers. When somebody walks in your branch, it's not about another loan. It's not about, oh, we'll consolidate, we'll give you more credit. That doesn't solve any problems. What you can do with them is to sit down with them and say, what can we do with what you have? Because if the people in this room, the candidates in this room, could turn their finances around in 6 months, then there is no need for continuously taking on more debt to going further. And I would love the banking industry, particularly in the lending industry, to understand that a loan is not the solution. Why are we not building up people into a point where they can take healthy loans, where they can develop businesses, they can get business loans like Howard is now qualified for because he got his credit score so strong, that you can get to a point that you qualify for a home loan, that you can start your own businesses. That's the kind of credit banks should be giving, not solution credit to, you know, a budget problem. So, Maya's high horse is nothing. But I also want to take this opportunity to thank the people behind this. And one of them is Liesl Squire, who, as I was saying to the candidates earlier, you have, Liesl, taken this competition to another level. I mean, the partnership with Absa has really allowed us to do even more and to accelerate this program. And I want to thank you. And to have a partner who is as passionate as I am about this it's a gift, and I want to say thank you so much to you. And I also want to thank Gail Edmonds, the other powerful woman. It's amazing, we have 5 female contestants, and there's these 3 women who who drive this money makeover, and Gail as well, who shares the passion and keeps it going in City Press, and makes sure that we get the space and the coverage that we do. And finally, to our honorary woman for today, Mohammed. Where is he? Who keeps all the digital stuff going and all of that, because of course that is how we spread the message. So I want to thank all the people who really are behind the scenes in keeping this competition going. So I think before we, so what I would like to do now actually is I want to have, so everyone to be able to hear from the contestants themselves. And so all of you are going to come up and have a little chat to me. So I'm going to first call up Amanda. This is in alphabetical order. Amanda A. So Amanda, please come join us up here. There we go. These bar stools are very tricky when you're in a skirt, I must tell you. Just keep your legs turned to one side. We want a Sharon Stone moment here.
Definitely not.
So I want to, when obviously we get all these applications that come in and we have a screening process. And Amanda made it onto the shortlist. And one of the reasons we selected Amanda is Amanda's had a journey that resonated so much with me, but also with so many women. And that is finding yourself, your partner dies, and you suddenly discover that all the finances you thought were in place, all the plans you thought were in place were not. And you're now a single mom, and you actually just don't know where you're going to go from here. And I have to share with you, I was 16 when my father died, and my mother discovered exactly the same. She discovered there was no pension fund, there was no medical aid, there was no will. There was a very large overdraft. And I think women face this more often than we realize. And we felt that Amanda's journey and Amanda's story would be one that would really, really resonate. And Amanda, when I interviewed you on that shortlist, you said to me, you're not going to be choosing this for this competition because there's nothing you can do for me. I am on my bare bones. There's absolutely nothing you can do for me. And we did. Yep. Share your story.
So about 20 months ago, my husband suddenly died. And it was really a shock to me because we actually came up to Johannesburg for a holiday. He was working in Johannesburg at that stage. And when I greeted him on the Monday, because we were going back to Paul, the future just looked so bright for me. We were making plans. And we were making plans to meet up again, and I really thought that this was going to be the opportunity where we were going to get all our stuff in order, just to 5 days later to find out that he actually died in the guest house that he was staying at that moment. I was quite shocked when I was presented with the will, and I realized that the last will that he drew up was before we even had kids. I could see when I went through his emails that he was looking into getting life insurance and stuff like that, but unfortunately there wasn't the time to get those things into place. And suddenly I found myself, I mean, you're already on this emotional journey of grief, and you're sad and everything, and you suddenly realize, I've got these 3 kids that I now have to get to adulthood all on my own. And last year's Facebook post that I did with the kids first day at school, I wrote 1 in high school, 1 in primary school, and 1 still in the creche. So it wasn't, I realized that it wasn't something that I was going to be able to, it's going to be a short, difficult journey. It felt to me like this was going to be the rest of my life. And I remember becoming very depressed and feeling a lot of despair because it felt like to me that every single month I'm running short. And I did eventually got a little sum of money from him, but just to make ends meet, I had to dip into it. And by June, July last year, I mean, I was really rock bottom. I thought I can't go on. This is just too much of a cross to bear. I can't do this anymore, because I realized that I was going to, the little money that I did get from him, if December comes along, it's going to be wiped out. And it was like, what am I going to do then? Because the thing is, I've also read a lot about grieving, and you get basically 2 kinds of grieving, and the grieving that fitted my personality and stuff like that was just, I froze. I couldn't even think of the next thing. My head was so cluttered with all these negative thoughts and stuff like that. But June, July last year, I realized I needed to do something, and I needed to do something very fast if I am going to make a success of this lemon situation that I'm finding myself in. And what do you do when you're in trouble? You Google it. And I was Googling at night when the kids were sleeping, trying to find out if there is somebody out there that has got a similar situation to what I'm finding myself in, and what did they do to fix it. And what I also realized is that there weren't a lot of South African stories. And I mean, our situation here in South Africa is unique. Our expenses that we have, our monthly expenses, our school fees, our medical aids and stuff like that, it's unique. People overseas don't always have that. And then I remember one evening, I discovered Maya's newsletter, and I subscribed to the newsletter. And I was reading it, and I was thinking, yeah, here's something. And I was very glad that it was a South African example that I was following. And I remember one evening going through my mails, and this mail popped up: "Are you ready for a financial boot camp?" And that was really the answer to my prayers. And I think I shot off an application immediately, because I thought I just needed to be part of this, because I looked at what the previous candidates did and stuff like that. But when I got to the email from you saying that I on the shortlist, and you wanted to have a telephonic interview with me, I remember taking it in our boardroom, this big hollow space. I felt despair, because while we were going through all the items, we just couldn't find any gaps. Because the way that my husband and I structured our finances up until he died was, I was Mrs. Boring, so I would look after all the fixed expenses and the debit orders, and he was Minister of Fun and Entertainment, so he would look at all the variable expenses, the stuff that wasn't that varied month to month, and obviously all the fun stuff that the kids got used to, going to the trips to the waterfront and the gifts and stuff like that. That was his department, and obviously I had to take that over. And I tried to maintain that, but I mean, you can imagine for yourself, it's not sustainable. So after the initial call, I was like really despondent. And I thought, I don't know what can be done, because we went through the whole list and everything was very necessary.
So maybe we can just fast forward to exactly what changed. Where did you find this 2,500 rand a month?
Yeah. Okay. So when I was paired with my financial advisor, for some reason we just immediately clicked. And she was also going through all the different expenses, and she had a guy in the office with her, Stefan. And Stefan said, "Sell your car." And I was like, "What, do you want me to walk now?" And he was like, "No, we looked at your petrol expenses. It doesn't look like you drive a lot." I said, "Well, I actually don't like driving, and my journeys are very short." He said, "But why are you having such an expensive car?" Because at that stage I was driving a 7-seater, but now we're just a family of 4. And the very next weekend, I went shopping for a new car. And I suddenly realized that I could save quite a bit by just driving a small car. And I mean, that car, as you've seen it, has sparked such a lot of joy in my life because of the start. That was that spark that started the whole journey. And then suddenly, once we had the car that was cheaper, we started looking at all the expenses, and then we realized I was paying so much for life insurance, and every single thing suddenly was up for grabs, and it was just incredible that you sort of feel loyal to your service providers. But
there's no holy cows.
You actually don't have to be.
Everything's up.
Yeah. And my cell phone was up for an upgrade, and they always like to upsell you. And I was like, no, the name of the game is I want to pay less than what I'm paying now. I want to pay a lot less. And you know, suddenly everything just fell into place, and the last of the savings came through in January. So I'm just amazed that everything is still in place, and that's what I really appreciated of this journey, is that we really took a 360 view of everything. We made sure about my will, the short-term insurance, the life insurance. We even looked at retirement annuity. It wasn't just my basic need at that stage that I wanted just a little bit more breathing space, room. We actually looked at everything. So I now, as I'm sitting here, know exactly what my situation is, and we already have plans for the second part of this year.
And I mean, I just want to remind everyone, this is in 6 months. This is not a 5-year plan, this is 6 months. So I want to thank you, Amanda, for sharing your story with us. And as you're getting done, I just must mention she's also started a DIY craft and art blog, which I subscribe to. So now she subscribes to my newsletter, and I subscribe to her newsletter. Thank you. And next up, we're going to have Nkosi. Nkosi, if you can come share your journey with us. These chairs are quite... I just don't know about bar stools for ladies. Are you all right? I'll hold the bar stool. There we go. These are very male-orientated chairs. So, Nkosi, one of the reason I actually selected Nkosi for the competition, see, I'm also struggling with Nkosi. The reason I selected Nkosi for the competition was really around the fact that she was building, and a little bit like Howard, she's a bit of a property entrepreneur, and she saw property as a business that she could build on for perhaps when she retires, to live off and have as a side income. But it was completely out of control. She'd got onto a buying spree, which I think many people, it's like Monopoly, you know, and you get on and you get in that space and you buy it, and then suddenly you realize that maybe you've gone overboard. And this property that was supposed to be a financial asset, was supposed to be looking after about her in retirement, was actually now becoming a massive liability. And I looked at it and I thought, there's so many people in this situation, so many people who are perhaps making the wrong decisions about entering property, and she would be a great way to help people understand that. And of course, he also has a 24, he's now 25-year-old son, still living at home, not working, not studying. And I thought, that's another one a lot of moms are dealing with at the moment. And I think both of those, for me, resonated, and I felt would resonate with our readers. And I must just tell you that I was very glad that she told me that after chatting to her in the shortlist interview, she said to me, oh, no, Maya, but I'm about to go and do a course on property. It's 5,000 Rand, and then I've got another property I want to look at. And I said to her, Nkosi, no, this is just on the shortlist. She hasn't started the competition. I said, don't do that property course. For 250 bucks, you can go buy a book on this. Just put that 5,000 Rand into your credit card, okay? And she did exactly that. So that was very good news. So please, I would want you to share your story and what you've learned.
Good morning, everyone. As introduced, I'm Nkosi. I overcame this journey on the City Press newspaper. That was sometime last year, and I became interested because I was a little bit stuck on debts. I became very obsessed to properties, but one of it, the first one, I bought it because I really needed it, because I had to get a place to stay. So after that, I thought about the second one, then the third one, then the fourth one, fifth one. But guess what? I couldn't afford them. So I will just look at the market where they market properties. I'll just think maybe I can go for this one.
Then put it on the credit card.
Yes, can you imagine? I don't have some savings for some renovations, for transfer fees. I don't have anything on my balance, on my bank account. But I will just put an offer, and to my surprise, the offer is accepted. And then I go for it. I make a loan to pay for transfer fees and stuff. Then I ended up with a lot of debts. Credit card was just finished. And I also had some clothing shops accounts, you can name them, a lot of accounts. And people will just call you thinking that you are working very nice. They will borrow about 3,000 rand and I will get very upset because I know exactly that I have zero balance on my bank account. And at some stage, I bought a car which was very expensive and I couldn't afford it. 3 months down the line after buying that car, I was stuck. Really stuck. I would call some friends borrowing some money and I would feel very ashamed to borrow some money whereas I'm driving that nice car. So I thought this is not a way to go, and I decided to sell that car. When I sold it, I had to top up with about 90,000 because it was still new, and that opened a very big gap on my finances because I had to borrow that money to top up, to take it from credit card and to make some loan. Lately, I managed to cover that, but that gap opened forever until I engaged on that property stuff. So I've been always on debts. My bank account will always on less than 1,000 to zero balance, and then I will go to credit card. But then when I entered on this journey, I was in the process to buy another property, as Maya just said. And imagine I had no money. I'm renting out some properties, but they are not making money because that money still has to go to bond. I have to pay some levies, some rates and stuff. So actually they were not making, or they are not making some lot of money for now. So I was stuck when I came across this this challenge. Then I decided to be part of it, to participate, to apply, and then I was accepted because I needed to be capacitated. I needed to think about my budget. And you will be surprised that within the period of 6 months, things have changed. Because now my credit card, when I entered this competition, my credit card, I was owing about 30,000. Now it's settled. I don't have any accounts with clothing shops. I had a cell phone contract with one of the service provider of about 850 per month. So when that contract expired, I decided no, I'm not going for it. As Amanda, they made a lot of calls saying that why we've been our customer for a period of more than 5 years. Why now? I said no, I'm not taking that contract. So that was less burden on my account. Now you'll be wondering that I'm able to save about 8,000 to 10,000 rand per month.
I just stop that for a moment, okay? This is a woman who was living on credit. And in 6 months, she has now 8,000 rand left at the end of every month. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, since last year, December. From December, I started to save about 6,000. December is a little bit busy month, so I couldn't save as per my target. So as from January, I managed to save another 8,000, February 8,000. Now in March, I'm saving about 10,000, and it's gonna be more because my target is to save about 150, even more than that per year. So this journey has changed a lot in my life, and now I'm not just going to go for properties that I can't even afford. I will have to make up my mind and think before I just commit myself financially.
It's fantastic. Thank you, Nkosi. Again, I'm always just like, it's amazing. And we're now going to call up Samke. And I must say, while Samke is walking up, one of the things I forgot to thank in my thanking speech is actually the advisors. We don't have time to have you guys up here as well, but without all of you holding the hands and going to those budgets. Yes. And here we go. We're going to get the man without the skirt. But I mean, it's actually been amazing. We haven't really commented, but I mean, the way Funi has worked with Nkosi and Riet with Amanda, and you guys have been amazing. You really, really have. All right, are you at least were wearing pants.
Yes.
Sensible woman. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Our knight in shining armor. So Samke, we chose Samke because she really was the typical 20-something youth market for us. You get your first job. You're no longer relying on your parents for income. You're no longer a student. You actually have money, and it's incredibly exciting. And not only do you have money, you've got all these people who say you can have 3 times more money because through store cards, credit cards, and suddenly you can have the clothes you want. You can, in many cases, drive the car you want. You can have the hair you want. You can socialize the way you want, and it's incredibly empowering and liberating on one level. And then one day you have to pay it back. And you suddenly realize that this is a problem because now suddenly a lot of the salary is actually going to paying back the stuff and you can't even remember what you spent. And Samke kind of was in that space when I chatted to her. And the other thing that Samke had was, again, very typical of so many people, she supports her parents. And so not only do you have the pressure of wanting to live a good life because it's exciting, but you also have parents that you need to support. And Samke also has this nature of giving, which is an incredible, she's an extremely generous person. The problem is her generosity was killing her. I think you were spending about 20% of your salary on tithes to 2 different churches, which is wonderful, but I don't think God wanted her to do it off her credit card. I said to her, I don't think in the Bible it requires you to use your credit card to tithe. So there was a lot around psychologically for you as well that was around how can I be generous but in a sustainable way. And yet 6 months later, here you sit looking fabulous and debt-free. Your story.
Yes. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Samkelisiwe Ngubane. I am originally from Durban, but I'm in between Joburg and Kiani because of work. Well, the first time I heard about the competition, I can't really remember whether it was on Facebook, on Twitter at the time. And then I read the requirements, and then I saw that one of the requirements was that you had to bank with Absa. And then I wasn't banking with Absa, so I was like, okay, then I won't qualify. And then I looked at all the other things, and then I was like, okay, no, I'm not going to qualify. I didn't initially know what it was about, but I knew that it was some financial boot camp. So at the back of my mind, I actually thought about this yesterday. At the back of my mind, I was thinking, okay, so they're going to help maybe somehow, help us somehow to deal with our debts, maybe by giving us money to pay it off or something like that. And then I just forgot about it. And then on the very last day of on the very last day to enter the competition, I saw it again. And then I was like, okay, I think I'm just being haunted by this now. So let me just enter for the sake of entering. I entered. And then when I read more about it, looked at the videos, I saw that you had to use your own money, your own salary to get out of debt. And then for me, the first thought was like, oh, how am I going to do that? Because even now, I'm struggling to even have anything at the end of the month. So how am I even going to be able to be part of this competition? So Maya called me for the interview, the shortlist interview, and we really spoke, but the conversation for me was a very uncomfortable one because now I somehow had to be bare, like I had to share these struggles. And for me it was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? Because I'm even struggling to share it with one person. Now it's going to be on City Press, and then the whole of South Africa is going to read about me and know that I'm really not doing well, But then somehow...
You're very brave. All of you are very brave.
I know. And then... when she called me, when I got the email saying that I've been shortlisted, I got excited. But then a part of me was very scared as well because now I had to tell people, tell my family, tell my friends that I'm going to be part of this and not knowing how am I going to do it because honestly, I felt like my situation was a very hopeless one in terms of emotionally I wasn't fine. I would use antidepressants sometimes just so that I can cope because a day or after I would get paid, literally I wouldn't have any money. And then you'd find that even when things like your parents getting sick, somehow you just need to make that money to be available, not knowing how. And then I remember, then I was introduced to Steve, and then I had to meet up with Steve. And then Steve said to me, can you please just send me your bank statements? And I was like, okay, Steve, like, what are you asking me for now? So I was, I must send him my bank statements. And to tell you the truth, I've never looked at my bank statement before. You know, I just couldn't, because it was just so embarrassing. I just couldn't face all those things. I didn't wanna, I think I just didn't want like the reality to be real in my mind. Rather, let me just live in this dream world of me knowing that I'm struggling, but then somehow knowing that it's happening, I don't know how. So I had to meet up with Steve. We sat down, and Steve highlighted a lot of things that I had to work on and change in terms of my spending habits, in terms of my savings, in terms of my budget, because I didn't have any savings, I didn't have any budgets. I was just, I don't know, just living through it, but you know, not knowing how. And then we started to have a budget with Steve. You know, first month it was very, very tough, because part of the things that came with me working with Steve was me learning how to say no. I had to say no to people around me. I also had to say no to myself, because as much as the financial situation we contributed by all the things around me, but at the same time, I was responsible for all those things. So I learned how to say no. So we started saving the first month. I remember when like I'd opened the app, it was so unbelievable. Like, oh my goodness, I've got savings. Like how does it happen, you know? And then month 2 again, stick to the budget, had savings. It was just so unbelievable. Even now, like it's so unbelievable, because I would struggle to make ends meet. But then now somehow, because my mother had an operation in January, somehow I was able to use my salary for the savings, for the RA, for everything that Steve and I had planned to do, and then still have money to go to Durban to see my mother, still had money to pay for this and that, of which it never happened before, because I would need to have a loan just so that I can be able to cope and be able to
But I mean, this is the point. That seems to be the solution. I don't have money, I borrow. Instead of, let me look at what's in my budget.
What is in the budget, exactly. And I think a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, I was actually checking my savings. Now I do that a lot. Like I'll check my savings, check my budget. Because even yesterday I was panicking. I actually, because there's a book that I write my budget, so I actually forgot it in the office. So I had to ask one of my friends, like, can you please just take a picture of me, because I just panicked. Like, oh my goodness, how am I even going to get paid on Monday when I don't even have my budget with me? So
amazing. It used to be our cell phones. You couldn't live without. Apparently it's our budgets. You can't live without.
You know, so I just like, can you please just send me a picture and make sure that you keep that book safe, because I don't want other people to see it. But for me, and all those things are just so amazing, because now I know where I spend my money on. I know what I use my money on. And then there's just like a plan, you know, like, there's a plan. This month is what I'm going to do. This month, that's what I'm going to do. And as I was saying, I think it was 3 weeks ago, a month ago, I was on the app, and then something popped up. Like, okay, do you know that you qualify for an overdraft of 98,000?
Absa.
And then it was learn more or not now. I was like, okay, I wish they had not ever. Because I didn't need it. Like, you know, I didn't need it. And it's so liberating, like saying no. Like, no, I don't need it. Like, I'm fine. Like, I was able to cope for 6 months without getting any loans, but just using my salary to be able to do all the things that I need to do. So all those things are very nice. And for me, looking at my peers, because it hasn't been really long since I started working. And it's a struggle that all of us go through. But then what differs is that other people are not willing to ask for help. Because for me, the first thing that I had to do was, okay, I'm struggling, and I can't do this anymore. I don't know how I'm going to do this. So let me just seek help and make sure that I'm fine, because I always had a plan in my mind that by the time I'm 30, I need to be financially fine. Like, I don't want to be stressed by debts. I don't want to be stressed by all the other things that are so unnecessary. Let me be stressed by things that are going to improve my life and make my life better.
And you achieved that in 6 months, not at the
I
age
did.
of 30. 27.
I did. Yes,
When do you turn
at 20
27?
In January. So
No,
yes,
last
this year,
year,
yes,
yeah.
yes, I
So
did.
how's that? Amazing
Yes.
story.
Okay. And then, sorry, one last thing. Thank you so much. I cannot not thank Steve.
No,
Oh my
Steve is-
goodness. Like Steve has been everything, and also to my family as well. They've been very, very supportive. All right, thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to actually mention something you didn't touch on, and I just wanted to add in is that some cares, you spoke about friends of yours in the same situation and how many have come to you for help. So in some cases set up this WhatsApp group with all her friends where they talk about money. And she's opening those conversations, and I think you mentor 3 of your colleagues as well. So I think that power of empowering herself and then through people coming to her and saying, how did you do it? I think that is an amazing pay it forward experience. We're now going to have Tamsin. Tamsin's going to, okay, here we go, Tamsin. So whilst you're trying to struggle to get on the chair. So the reason I selected Tamsin for the competition is Tamsin, again, you'll see that all of these people have very, very different stories. And Tamsin's is completely different because Tamsin is self-employed, but she's not only self-employed, she's actually part of what we call the gig economy. And the gig economy is this thing where you have multiple income streams. So Tamsin's got an Airbnb, she's got a web design business, and she does film production. She works in the film production industry, and she's got all this money that comes in lump sums, different times of the year. And when you're in that situation, you actually have to manage your money better than a salaried person. And you actually have to have even better handle on it. And obviously Tamsin was struggling with this, which is why she was on the money competition. And I think one of the things that really resonated with me was when you did your application. You actually wrote, you said, I would get these lump sums from the film industry that made me feel rich, but I wasn't rich. And of course, that money had to last a lot longer than just those 2 months, which is very easy to burn through when you're not running. And I think also Tamsin reached an amazing achievement in 6 months is that she actually paid herself a salary for the first time as a salaried employer of herself in January. And I think that it was amazing. And I'd like for you to share your journey.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tamsin. Yeah, it's been amazing to hear everyone else's stories, and I so identify with everybody. Yeah, I think I've spent the last 25 years sort of sticking my head in the sand, feeling successful, being quite successful, but just not channeling any of it. And, you know, finding myself at the age of 46 in December with literally 0 in my bank account, but 0 below 120,000 rand. So basically I was 120,000 rand indebted to the bank. I'd taken a huge brave step to invest all my savings into my Airbnb, which was a whole new idea for me. So at that moment, all my money had gone into the Airbnb and all the bank's money that I had a credit facility of 120,000 rand, basically. So I just thought, this is going to work. I have to do this. I'm going to put all my money into this Airbnb. And right at that moment, the drought struck Cape Town and the tourism industry died. That was December. And
that's December 2017.
Last year, yes, correct. And the film industry basically was hugely affected by the drought, which was my major source of income. My web design business was a new thing, which is sort of my next stream of income. But that was not functioning enough to keep me afloat. So the drought basically killed the film industry and killed my Airbnb. So I had a lovely house at the beginning of December and minus 120,000 rand. And I just had absolute panic. I mean, I've never not paid kids' school fees. I've always been, I've been a responsible person in terms of having money, but I haven't been responsible in terms of saving it and thinking ahead. So yeah, I started having sleepless nights and waking up in the middle of the night thinking, I can't sleep at night. Now, how am I going to cover this debt? 18% interest, and yeah, it just started escalating. I got a few Airbnb bookings, which gave me hope. And then, literally through the whole of winter, I just prayed and said to myself, I'm not going to get through this on blind faith, but I have to really turn my life around and use this. I'm not going to make this define me. This is going to be the change in my life to sort my finances out. So I went to a Robin Banks seminar. I did everything. I don't know if anyone's seen Robin Banks, but he's really a great motivational speaker. And, you know, you can manifest money into your life, which is true, but you also have to do the work. So
You actually have to do this. It's not sort of just thinking about it.
You can drive to work in your car and say, I'm so successful. I earn at least 80 to 100,000 rand a month, which I do now. I'll do everything. I'll say affirmations and I'll do the physical work, and it's all paying off. So that was the beginning, and I put a budget together and I just cut out absolutely everything that I could possibly think of. I mean, I didn't spend money on, I don't have a phone contract, I buy airtime. I just thought, I'm not even buying airtime anymore. I'm just going to WhatsApp people. They must deal with WhatsApp calls. My kids were quite shocked. And I just said, guys, we're going to get through this. The film industry is going to pick up, but we all have to buckle down. And then I came across the Absa City Press Money Makeover Challenge. And I was in quite a turmoil, and I just thought, I've just got to enter for this thing. Doesn't matter if I don't get it. I'm just going to do whatever the universe sends my way. And then miraculously, I was, chosen one of 100 entrants. How many people entered?
I can't remember now, but we had a
It's
lot.
quite a big,
And we had so many women enter. This was the interesting thing is, so it's not, we obviously try and have a mixture of people, but we had such dominating women entrants this year. So that's why we had so many women at the end.
So of course, that's the beginning of my journey, and it's just been an amazing, I've turned my finances around from minus 120,000 rand to, I borrowed, my mother was, I eventually had to eat humble pie and say, Mom, please, I can't sleep at night. I will give you all this money back, please help me. So she covered my credit card debt, so I owe her the money now, but it feels a little less
Is it worse than a
daunting.
bank, though, owing your mother money?
Well,
Maybe rather than the bank owing your mother.
maybe, yeah. But,
Darling, are those new shoes?
Exactly. Why? That is an element. And then I started paying myself a salary. So on the 25th, I just put every cent I make, I put into Alan Gray, and then on the 25th, I've got a debit order that pays me a salary.
But you also, one of the things you worked with Leanne was to separate business.
Absolutely,
and so this is often what happens when you work for yourself, I know all about this, is that you don't ever actually set a salary for yourself. You just draw down from the business. So what was happening is Tamsin would draw down from the business as and when she needed it. It was never this, here's my salary, separate from the business.
It was just my bank account. It wasn't my business account. It wasn't. So we separated. I opened up an Absa account, which is my personal account, and then my business account was a separate entity. So I didn't even touch the business money. That just went into Alan Gray, and then I paid myself a salary. And then now I'm like, I look at my salary, I get so excited. Oh, I'm getting paid on the 25th of the month. It's the first time. I've never experienced a salary in my entire life, so it's really quite exciting. And now I've saved 6 months ahead of salary now, and I'm the kind of person who'll just pay a lump sum, or I'll pay my whole credit card off in one go. The minute I get 20 grand, I'll just put it into any debt. So I don't sort of pay the minimum. But then I discussed with Leanne. I said, look, I just want to pay my mother the whole thing off, and we just agreed, look, work out a repayment plan. So that's what we did. So I've got a salary I can survive. So if I'd paid my mother off, I'd still have no money to survive. If Eskom causes the film industry to go bankrupt again and the tourism industry to go bankrupt again, I've got 6 months saved.
And I think it's that balance between having the emergency funding and paying off debt. And I think that's something all of you've done. It's sort of not. It's paying off debt at all costs. So, and I want to also congratulate Tamsin, because she managed to do all of this going through a very busy film industry and revamped her web business and all the rest. So it was an amazing journey.
Yeah, and I just want to thank everybody involved. My financial advisor, my business advisor, you and Absa and City Press.
Business advisor Elton over there.
Elton, yes, sorry.
You gave her a hard time. You don't want to. Hey, Howard, he's strict. Yeah, he's very strict.
It requires that when you set in your ways. So it's been really amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tamsin. And last, but definitely not least, just because her name starts with a T, we have Julie. So Julie, again, very different profile. So Julie is married with 4 children, and I think for me, have a seat down, Julie. For why we looked at including Julie on the competition is that Julie's, she's a professional. She earns a good salary. Her husband earns a good salary, and yet on a relatively good income, they both were struggling with debt. And I think it is that story of, it's everyone here thinks, oh, I would save more, I'd have less debt if I had more money. And the reality is that every time you get a salary increase, if you aren't budgeting, if you aren't looking at your money, the salary increase just becomes more lifestyle. So you buy the bigger car, the bigger house. Believe me, I've done all of this. The bigger house, the bigger car, the bigger lifestyle, because now the car that you were driving doesn't really fit the new job, so we need to upgrade. Look at her nodding. So I think it's really important to separate this idea that your financial well-being is about the salary you earn. You've heard from everybody here, it's actually about what you spend. And I think Tuli brought that to the story, and she also brought, I felt, the family side, because you and your husband didn't talk about money. You were running two separate budgets. You do run two separate households, a bit more complicated, but you never actually sat down as a family and looked at that. And that is something that so many families make that same mistake. And we felt that Tuli also brought that element about making it a family affair. I want you to, and I want you to really just relate to us how that journey went.
Thank you, Maya. Good morning, everyone. I don't know what time it is. So I'm Tuli Swanazo. I am a mother of 4 kids, 4 young adults and 4 teenagers. Originally from Eastern Cape, Cape Town, and here now in Pretoria. So we run 2 households. My husband is still in Cape Town with 1 child, and I'm here in Pretoria with 3 children. So that adds just another dimension. So for me, this journey has been, it did for me in 6 months what I failed to do for myself in 30 years of my working life. So I think for me, Maya, the greatest takeaway from this is having a financial advisor. I can only imagine what I would have achieved if I had a Leola in the beginning of my career. 30 years ago, I'll be a multimillionaire now. But just to take you through, when I saw this, the competition in the City Press, I was having sleepless nights. I was relatively paid, a good, I had a good salary, but I was struggling, to make ends meet. I was living from hand to mouth. At the end of the month, by the first week, my money is gone. I've paid all my accounts, but now I have to go back and raid my credit cards, So it was just a cycle. So this came at the right time for me. And then I wrote to Maya, and then I also had to bare my soul, look at where I am. And I also felt ashamed because I've been working for 30 years and my salary wasn't too shabby, but here I was actually struggling. So I wrote to her, and I was grateful when I selected. In fact, I was telling everyone in the office, my family, everyone knew, everyone was following my journey. I had fumbled for 30 years in my financial life. I had 4 houses.
So I must add, Tuli's also a house collector, like in Kosi.
So I had 4 houses, but that rental income was going into my salary, so I wasn't separating the 2. So that added to the confusion. When I get when I get a salary increase, then I will decide, okay, let me do this, let me upgrade. And I upgraded to expensive cars. I think I bought 2 of those 2 months after the other. So I think my finances were just all over the place. But what Leola and I did was to actually then go back to the basics, So the first thing that we did was to separate my property rental account and my salary account. And then when we actually delved into the properties, it was like, one of the properties was actually chowing up the profit that I was getting from the other properties, was paying high levies. And what we then decided was to get rid of this property and then see how things go from there. And we are in that process. And secondly, for us was to then see, Tuli, you are getting into your 50s now. So in about 15 years to 16 years, you have to retire. And there's this big gap, in your retirement. So we looked into that. I think that's what I liked. We'll holistically look at my finances. to say, this is where you are now, this is where you want to go and where you should be, how do you get there? So we had to go through that, and I had to make changes that were uncomfortable. I think it's in us as women, you know, to be generous. You're mentioning how Samke is generous. I think there's that thing that you want to do for other people at your expense. So I had to have difficult conversations with my children. My eldest son is 24, and I was like, you know what, you need to get a job. I don't care where you work, but you need to get a job. I cannot support you. And so he went out beginning of this year, and he got a job. So now I don't have to support him anymore. And my daughter is doing her honors. And I struggled to fund her junior degree because we don't qualify for NSFAS. So I had to fund her from my salary. So I used my credit cards. I got a personal loan. I remember my wife was asking me, why didn't you get a student loan? It didn't even cross my mind, The credit card was there, so it was easy for me to just pay the university. But then now that we are able to think and have clarity on how finances are, we're then able to actually apply for a scholarship, and she got a scholarship that covers her tuition, that covers her books, and she still stays with me. So I don't have to pay for those things. And then I also pushed her. So she's now doing an au pair, looking after children and stuff, and she's looking after herself. So those were the things that I wasn't going to make if I was not exposed to this, I would have continued to do, to support them until they're 26. Okay. So for me, it has been an incredible journey. I'm now excited about my finances as well. I look at my budget. This is what we are going to do.
Every Friday, she goes to the budget. She gets very excited. She stays an extra hour.
So fortunately, at my office, we close off at 1:30, and then I have to wait for my child to come from school. So while I'm waiting for her, and then go in and check, okay, this is what I did this week. This is our plan. Because for some reason, I don't know whether it's just me, over weekends, we tend to spend more. So those Friday breaks actually give me, an opportunity to actually say, okay, this is what is going to happen the next week. This is what I'm going to do. And when I joined the program, I had 4 credit cards, I think, with 5 credit cards with 4 different banks. So now I am proud to say I only have 1 with Absa, with a much reduced credit limit. So I am really in a good space. I'm going into my 50s on a light note, knowing that even though I still have a gap in terms of retirement, but we're getting there, and I know how to get there. So
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. So now you can see why I get so inspired. I mean, you can imagine, I hear these stories and my heart swells. So thank you. And we now have a little surprise. We're going to call up Gail from City Press, because City Press has got a little something for all of our contestants and their advisors to say thank you for being part of this journey. Because, of course, we get to sell more newspapers because of you. That's why we do it. So we really appreciate it. Do you want me to, Gail, do you want to talk? And then I will talk. Try handing out.
Thank you. Yes, please. Okay. I'll just add my 5 cents and just say thank you so much to the candidates, the financial planners. This is one of our most favorite things at City Press. We love it. We love it. Rode is here today as the editor of Trending, where the copy runs, and she loves it too. We're all very invested in this competition because we see the changes it makes and the changes it makes to our readers' lives. So, which is what we really are journalists to save the world. I know no one believes us, but it is true. Okay, so this is just a little something. City Press will be giving each of you 5,000 Rand. And the rules of the competition do not necessarily apply. So here we go. Amanda, your 5,000 Rand is for your amazing enthusiasm, how you really got behind this competition and you just went for it. I can't use the expression I would use on account of live streaming, but you really went for it. And this money is for you to take the family on a treat so that you can become the Minister of Fun and Entertainment. Okay, and then next up is Nkosi. And Maya just says, thank you very much for listening to her and not doing that property course. And this money is for petrol so that you can go and visit all those friends you've had to cut off due to financing and budgeting.
So you must remember, I've had a lot of heart-to-hearts with them, so I know all their personal little quirks.
Okay, and then for Samke, thank you for not buying that car. This is so that you can put it towards those wheels a little bit sooner.
So Samke did amazing. Yeah, at the start of the competition, she wanted to have a car by the end of it, and she's realised she does need to delay it a little bit.
Okay, and Tamsin, I hear it on good authority that you have resisted buying clothes for 6 months. So you may go out and spend on outfits vigorously. And then finally, Tuli, for doing what is very important in this whole competition, which is making this a family affair, taking decisions with the family and making sure that everybody's on board. And I think that's very key. And so you and the family can decide what to spend your money on. And thank you so much. And then for the financial advisors, we've just got a token of City Press's great gratitude for your contribution, because without you, this really wouldn't be the success it is. So if everyone, so there's a present there for each of you.
You just want to shame. You want to just
should I just hand them out?
Here we go. Well, I'll do Harriet.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Where are we? Elton.
And then I will.
And Funi behind you. There we go.
And I'm going to give the microphone back to Maya.
Oh God, and Stephen. Yeah.
I'm going back to
you can give that to me. Right. Thank you, Gail. So you all see that I mean, your advisors may tell you differently, but I have given you permission to enjoy the 5,000. Because I think you all deserve a break. So I don't know. I think you guys stick these budgets. Like, I don't know if I could do that for 6 months. So I think you all deserved a little bit of a breath, a little bit of a breathing space. So I want to Liesel's going to announce the winner. I've left that to her to do. But I wanted to explain to you how we reached the conclusion. So what we do is we have a matrix that has 11 criteria on it. And these criteria include things like, did you create a budget? Did you stick to it? Did you have a repayment plan? Did you stick to it? We look at the financial planning elements. Did you do a will? Did you review your life cover? Did you look at the holistic side of things? To what extent did you do that? We also did things like, to what extent did your credit score change during the period? And we weighted these differently. So our heavy weightings were really around things that you could control. So things like setting the budget, around the debt repayment plan. They were sort of weighted at 5 points each. Financial planning, we had different elements, but they were each weighted at 3 points each. I think the will only at 1 point. So we kind of looked at the weightings there. And then we also added in your responsiveness and communication back to City Press and with your advisors. And we scored that at a 5 because it really gave us feedback as to how engaged you were with the process and how committed you were to the process. And then we also had one for social media. It was only scored out of 2, so it wasn't a heavy weighting, but we obviously wanted to look at, and because part of this competition is spreading the word and getting it out there and sharing your stories. So when we put all those criteria together, we then have a look at that, and the numbers told us who, in this case, we have a winner and we have a runner-up. And we had scores, so we had an idea who on those scores were our top 2. We then did another filter, and that was more around saying, is there something that these candidates did that went over and above the competition? Did they exceeded anything that was quite extraordinary? And in fact, like Howard, for example, we know last year that was was something that we considered. And then we also looked and we said, this person is going to be a Money Makeover ambassador. Howard will tell you it doesn't end, by the way, here if you win this competition. There are other events. Absa, obviously, you will be asked to talk at certain events. Howard, videos have been made of Howard for Absa social awareness programs. So we needed somebody who would also was engaged with the program and who would resonate with the wider audiences. So we put all of that together. And then when we went, we also asked, almost like a blind tasting thing. So we went to Gail and Mohammed, who both had followed the competition. Oh, I should mention up front that the team that looked at the first set of criteria was made up of the Absa credit team, Liesel and myself, okay? Obviously, mine was feeding in just the stuff, and they were really looking at it from the numbers perspective. And then I asked Gail and Mohammed, who were obviously very close to the competition, and even Howard. And I asked them to look at it purely from an external point of view, having seen the journeys, and I gave them your motivational letters and said, who resonates with you? Who do you feel kind of captured this competition for you? And what was really, for me, made it so much easier was that the top 2 scores were the same people selected by Gail, Mohammed, and Howard. So I feel quite confident that the winners that we have today kind of met all of that across the board. And I see Howard is nodding, because Howard didn't know that. Howard emailed me back saying, these are the 2, I think, I don't know if I'm on, and he was spot on. So on that note, I'm going to call Liesel up to make the final announcement.
On. So I work in communication. It's not hardcore banking like the financial advisors. We always try and find ways to tell Absa stories in new and innovative ways. And what better way to tell the story through real people with real stories? It's something that the City Press readers and the Absa audience really resonate with. It's not the bank saying, you must do this and you must do that. It's real people with real stories that people out there can identify with. And I must say, on a personal level, this is now my 2nd year that I've been involved with Money Makeover. Certainly one of the most rewarding journeys I've ever been involved with in my entire career, and I've done some interesting stuff through the past years. So let's get to it, because I know you're all hardly breathing. Our winner, last year we had a prize money of 100,000 Rand that Howard won. This year we decided to do it a bit differently. We're going to have a 75,000 Rand investment prize to the winner, and then 25,000 Rand to the runner-up. Simply because also you're so close, the two, and you know, like was said earlier, you know, you all are winners, and I really want you all to know that you were all winners, and you know, being part of this program made you winners. The winner and the runner-up was so close on all levels, on each and every of the 11 criteria that we used, and I think what made that difference was that ambassador. And I'm going to start with the runner-up. I think despite tremendous heartache that she went through, and she tackled this journey with such passion and such vigor, and she just gave it her all. And I think also just with the work that she's done with the blog, I'm very glad to say that Amanda is our runner-up. Come give me a big hug. Oh,
amazing. It's really been incredible. I can't thank City Press, Maya, Absa enough for, if I can use the analogy of the car that I bought. If I can use the analogy of the car that I bought, this competition has really allowed me to shift gears and change direction. And I am so happy for my family today. Thank you.
And yeah, as Maya said, there was a lot of agreement about the winner, and I think also from the beginning, she just put all her efforts in, and she met in the end all 11 criteria. She got the highest scores in all of the criteria. And what set her apart was this ambassadorship role and the group that she started on WhatsApp to educate her friends and her family. think it's just... I think the work that you've been doing, Samke, is just evidence of the ripple effect that one can have in a community. And we applaud you for that. Well done. Well done.
Oh, okay. Well done, Samke. Well done.
Well done. Very well done. Well done.
And hopefully before the age of 30, you can buy that car that you've been dreaming of. I think she needs a bit of time to collect herself. Maybe she can say something a bit later. And with that, I want to say just a quick word to Maya and to Gail, but also to Songezo for being an amazing leader of our team and for backing me. I think often, you know, we try and do things a bit more creatively. And working in a bank, it's not always that easy because it's always, what is this going to cost us? And what is the bottom line? What is the bank getting in return? And I think as a bank, we've been getting, the return on the investment has been so huge, but also Songezo for backing me and for just being behind me along this journey. Thank you very much. Okay.
So that brings us to the end of this of the talking part, and congratulations. And Samke, really, you. I think maybe one of the things just to mention with Samke is this generosity of hers, and I think she's found a new channel for it. And it's not about spending on a credit card and giving to people. It's about the way she can share her knowledge and her experience on the money makeover journey with people going forward. But I must tell you, all of you, it was challenging to find a winner. You've all done incredibly well. And if it was up to me, of course, I wouldn't have a final winner because it breaks my heart. But I just want to say congratulations again to all of you. And it's now time for lunch and for fun. So I think that concludes the event.